Gold 200, our review. Okay, so new film, so this is kind of fun, and everybody else is reviewing it, so we thought we might as well jump in and do it ourselves. I've never been a big fan of Gold film. I'm a huge fan of Kodak film, but never a big fan of Gold film, and I'm not entirely sure why, except that I just sort of never really gravitated towards it. I mean, for years when I was shooting, it was always shooting the professional film, for no reason except that that was what all the cool kids were doing, so I did it too. So this is, anyway, so let's talk about the film. It is the professional Gold 200. In 120 size. I bought 10 rolls, 2 Pro-Packs, and shot a couple of rolls in the Pentax 6.7, my Hasselblad, and the Mamiya 6, and just wanted to try it out and see what all the fuss was about. It's ostensibly about, I believe, about 25% less expensive than comparable Portra. I don't know how it compares to the Ektar, but I was delighted to see that a new 120 size film, color negative film, was coming on the market, especially given that so many films have been discontinued over the last little while, that it's been really nice to have the opportunity to try something new. So I tried it out. And in short, not a fan. But let me explain why. So first of all, the film is described as having warm, saturated colors, and it certainly does have warm colors. And the major issue is, for me, is that it really is quite warm and quite green. And I live in an area of the world that is really green. I live in Vancouver, so, which is the Pacific Northwest. It just, like, there's just lots of forests and lots of green and lots of warm tones and lots of earth tones, and it really felt that the film was just a little too much going towards the warm and not enough towards the red, blue, more towards the green, yellow. So that said, there were a couple of other factors in the film. First of all, my Pentax 6.7 has an old 105 2.4 on it. Super multi-coated tachomer. Has the issue with the thorium breaking down and yellowing the optics. And so the images that I got from the Pentax, which were delightful, were pretty warm. And I could correct it mostly. I mean, by the way, all the images were scanned on a Hasselblad X1 scanner and then retouched by me. And they're, I do a lot of scans, so I'm pretty confident that the color bias was not excessive. Back to the Pentax 6.7, so a lot of the shots that we did with the 6.7 were kind of warm, and understandably so. Thankfully, the Hasselblad and the Mamiya 6 have nice clear optics, so that's not an issue. The other thing about the film is that the shadow detail is not great, and I exposed using the internal meter, handheld meter, internal meter, and the exposure, I mean, thankfully, actually, there's quite a bit of latitude in this film, and I was actually surprised. Didn't have any problem using any of those above features, but I did find that in contrasty light, the shadow detail is pretty limited. And it's actually an interesting feel. I don't mind it too much, and especially with the Mamiya, it actually worked out really well, because the Mamiya is a pretty low contrast camera anyway, and then when you add in a little more snap from the color neg, it gave a really quite a pleasing result. I was happiest with what came out of the Mamiya. Skin tones are really hard to. I didn't shoot that many people. There was a couple of women who were going swimming at a swimming hole that I was at when it was just above freezing, and there's a photograph of my daughter that I just happened to snap, so definitely more testing when it comes to skin tones. But I will say that because it's a 200 speed film, it has noticeable grain. It's not grain free at all, which I actually really liked. The grain is really even. The grain is really, it's very pleasing, and especially with the sharp Mamiya optics. The combination of the not substantial grain, but of the the noteworthy grain compared with the ultra sharp optics that this camera has, actually was quite a nice result. Shooting out of the Hasselblad, it was, what can I say? It wasn't ideal, but it wasn't bad. The Pentax 6.7, I gotta put this lens in the sun for a few days because it's getting quite yellow. And although shooting with the Pentax was fun, it was getting pretty shrill, warm green, that kind of stuff. So a couple of other things about the film. I'm worried about the quality control. And now I'm not certain of this, but I'm fairly sure. There are these little blue flaws that came up on a number of my scans. I'm fairly confident it wasn't the scanner, as it was only on a couple of scans. I've done about 400 scans this year. I've only seen it on a few frames. And I'm also fairly confident it wasn't the developing because it doesn't look like a chemical mark or a light leak or anything like that. I did have some problems with development of this film. There was a number of spots. I'm kind of wondering what the hell's going on at the lab because we live in an area of the world that has unbelievably soft water, and there should not be any issue with chemistry drying on film unless they're not washing it properly. And so the blue dots were worrisome. And they're easy to retouch, and they happen mostly in deep shadowed areas, but that may just be because I didn't see them in the highlights. So that was something that was a bit odd. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, really, there's my preferred film, or that one, I guess. I'm a big fan of the portrait, and I like how it works. I'm used to it. I've shot hundreds of rolls over the years, so I know what to expect, and I think that's probably a big part of the Gold 200. I think that if I wanted to actually give you a really good idea as to how I feel about this film, I probably should shoot another couple dozen rolls, and get a really good sense as to how it works. Because like a lot of things, when you first pick up a camera, or you first put a lens on, or you first even shoot a roll of film, there's going to be a bunch of questions that you're going to have to answer, and once you can answer them adequately, and once you can actually begin to anticipate them, then all of a sudden what used to look kind of marginal now looks great because you can exploit whatever it was that they came up with. But regardless, even if the film isn't for me, I'm still delighted it's on the market. And I really hope that people can pick up a few rolls and drop them into their old 120 size cameras and get out and do some shooting. So thanks for watching. And if anybody has any questions about what I found, by all means, let me know.